Aquaman is directed by James Wan, an Australian director who is probably best known for creating Saw and the Conjuring films, in addition to directing Fast and Furious 7. He's a director I've been a fan of for some time, and it was his involvement that got me really excited for Aquaman. I'd quite enjoyed our introduction to Aquaman that he'd gotten in Justice League, but really wanted to see more of him and his world, because we'd barely scratched the surface of that side of the DC universe. Now I can definitely see this movie not being for everyone. We were promised more of an epic underwater fantasy, rather than the usual superhero fare. And that's definitely what we get, except it's just turned up to 11. James Wan goes all in on a movie called Aquaman, featuring a character that was mocked for years. Not anymore, not after this film. James Wan dives into all of the Aquaman lore and mythos about Atlantis and the Seven Seas. So if you're a big fan of world building, this movie has you covered. The movie does cover a bit of the Jeff Johns Aquaman comic run, which is what really turned the character into a badass. That, plus the Aqua Bro charm that Jason Momoa brings to the character of Arthur Curry, makes this Aquaman a movie that wants you to believe in its epic, absurd scale and have a really fun time watching it. Yes, it doesn't quite have the nuance of Wonder Woman. This movie owns the silly aspects of its lore, rather than adapting the absurd like Wonder Woman did. This movie really is at times Dragon Ball Z underwater, and if you're someone like me who grew up watching Dragon Ball in the mornings, then you're gonna have a really fun time with this movie. Not just in terms of the action, but the way characters yell and gloat about themselves. That's where this movie might turn some other people off though, even though I ate up those aspects of the film. I am glad that the movie gradually introduces us to more absurd and weird concepts, rather than just dumping it all at once. Because what we know before the movie compared to the end of the movie is chalk and cheese. And as others have pointed out, this is a movie where an octopus plays the drums. But as I was saying, the movie gradually gets to absurd things like an octopus playing the drums. It tries to gain our trust before showing us these insane things, and I respect that about the movie. It doesn't always work though. The first and third acts of the film are definitely the strongest parts of the film, with some good setup and world building in the first act, while you have one of the best epic finales in a superhero film I've seen in years. But a lot of the second acts can get quite messy, and can feel like it's rushing through exposition at times to get us to the next set piece. The dialogue at times can get a bit generic as well, falling into the usual choose your destiny type speeches that we've heard a million times before. The cast makes it work though, and a lot of props has to go to Jason Momoa for bringing Aquaman to life. He gives the character so much love and care that you just can't help rooting for the guy. And it helps that the plot is fairly straightforward with everything going on, where Aquaman must reclaim the throne from his half-brother King Orm, who is planning an attack on the land with an army from the various sea kingdoms. So Aquaman with Mera has to find an ancient trident that will give him the power to beat his brother. And that's it, pretty straightforward. And although this straightforward approach can make the movie fall into some cliche, I actually found that it helps keep the movie on track, even if some elements like Black Manta could have been saved for Aquaman 2. The energy James Wan puts into directing the film really does elevate the screenplay and characters, giving us this gorgeous look at what is on the ocean floor. There are some beautifully choreographed, well realized and edited action scenes, with what has become James Wan's trademark use of digital one-takes, where action scenes look as though they are all one shot, but instead zoom around a room or transport us to different parts of a city as two characters are making an escape. These action scenes really are outstanding when they're grounded and practical. On top of this, the visual effects work in this movie is outstanding. Yeah, we have a few years to go before people talking underwater looks completely realistic. There are things in this movie that haven't been achieved before. So on the visuals alone, I have to commend this film, and recommend that you see it on the biggest screen possible. Because just when you think you've seen the most epic thing that this movie is going to deliver, it shows you something even bigger and more outrageous. The score from Rupert Gregson-Williams also helps elevate the big epic moments, particularly the third act, which feels like Lord of the Rings meets Metal Gear Solid underwater. The movie does rely a bit too heavily on sudden explosions interrupting dialogue. Characters will be talking and then suddenly we have a big surprise explosion that jumps us into an action scene. It'd be fine if it happened once or twice, but it happens a few too many times to get irritating and a bit predictable. Aquaman is by no means a perfect movie, but it is entertaining as hell. It is the purest example of a popcorn film that you could imagine. Of all the movies released this year, few have packed so much blockbuster into a blockbuster film. It's big and downright insane, and in the hands of a different director, this movie would be laughed at. But James Wan, Jason Momoa, and the cast and all the technical wizards behind the scenes have really made this film work. And I can't wait to see the lunacy of this world return in the future. Go see this for the spectacle and wonder, because I really don't think you're going to see something as outrageously entertaining as this for the rest of the year. Aquaman gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Guys, I hope you like this review. If you want to see more reviews just like this one, stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye guys.